the opportunity. Kingsley, have you started recording? Are we good to go? Okay, thank you. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Vanessa Raath, who will be our speaker. She has worked in the recruitment industry for over 14 years now, a majority of it being in specializing with tech. She is a freelancer, sourcer, and a global sourcing trainer, having started her own company in 2019. She is responsible for bringing the human element back into the recruitment spaces. And she has also helped start the Job Advice SA Talk on Twitter. It is at 4 p.m. on Mondays. On top of it all, she is a career brand specialist, coach, and international keynote speaker, having given talks over spaces like SourceCon in Seattle and Talent 32, of which is a big tech recruiting conference. And some refer to her as a superwoman.
That's very funny.
Today she will be giving us the how-to. Today she will be giving us a heads up on how to stand out in the IT talk, in which we will be learning about the importance of an online presence, making your CV stand out, and a few tips on interviews. Vanessa Raath, the stand is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What a cool intro. So guys, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I'm super chilled. We're going to have a super chilled evening. As some of you may have heard me say earlier, this is my third presentation today. I presented early to Australia this morning and a conference in London in the United Kingdom this afternoon. So I've saved the best for last for today. So
talking about being superwoman.
It's been it has been a busy day. So guys, what I want to do is I just want to share my screen with you. So just let me know that you can see my PowerPoint presentation. Just pop it in the chat. Let me know that I'm presenting.
Yes, you can see it.
You can see it. Okay, perfect. Cool. So first of all, a couple of thanks, Sonwa Bile, for reaching out to me and asking me to be here. Those of you who are attending, look, if you want, you can put your videos, your cameras on, you can unmute yourself. I'm totally cool if you want to ask me questions as we go through this presentation. So you're here to learn, and the more questions you ask, the more interactive we are, the more you're going to get out of it. I've also popped my link to my LinkedIn profile on the chat, so you are super welcome to just connect with me on there, and that's probably the easiest way to ask me any questions that you might have after this presentation. Cool. So guys, what I'm going to be talking to you about tonight is how to ensure that one day, and I know that it's early days because a lot of you are students, but how one day you're going to stand out in the South African IT industry. Because I'm telling you now, the sooner we start, the better that you are going to be at this and the easier it's going to be for you. A couple of things about myself. I'm not actually referred to a lot as superwoman, even though I enjoyed that. I'm actually referred to as squirrel. So I actually suffer from severe ADHD. So for those of you who are the same as me, there is hope. You can still live a normal life. And it just means that I can do a lot at one time. So pretty much what do I do? So I'm what's called a talent sourcer. So I train people to how to find talent in obscure places, which is some of the obscure places I'm going to touch on today. But I've presented at lots of local conferences. So I normally present at Microsoft events, SQL Saturdays, SharePoint Saturdays. I work very closely with the ladies from Girl Code SA, run by a friend of mine, Zandi. I belong to Women in Tech groups. So I do a lot. I try and get involved as much in the community. And one thing I'm really passionate about is your personal and your career branding. And this is something that I want you to start working on like this week. You know, the sooner you start, the better. And a lot of people think that it might be a bit soon if you're sitting as students, but trust me, it's not. There are people like me out there who are already tapping into the market. I'm looking for people who are standing out on social platforms for the right reasons, may I say, that you are standing out. And those are the kind of people that I want to be putting in front of my clients. And to be honest with you, I only actually have one local client these days. The rest of them are all based globally, all over the world. So I come from a background of recruiting. I started an agency for 2 years. I then went internal. I worked at Ultron Carabiner. We were Carabiner until Ultron bought us. And I specialize in the Microsoft space. So a lot of recruiting in the business intelligence, Dynamics, CRM, 365, all of those kind of positions. But I still work in the IT sourcing space. So some of the roles I'm just finishing up this last couple of weeks are, I was looking for integration leads in Perth, Australia. I was looking for front-end developers in north of Germany. So my sourcing is very varied. I source all over the world. My latest client is actually Twitter, and what I'm working with them on a 3-month project to source up their offices in Accra in Ghana, which is hell of a challenging because everyone has to be based in Accra, but good fun at the same time. And also, when I'm not training people how to source, I'm sourcing myself, or else I'm trying to help communities like you guys. I've got a passion for helping students and scholars on how they can be better. So thanks for giving up your time to be here tonight. It will definitely benefit you. So what are we going to be discussing today? Let's just quickly break it down. So we're going to look at why you need to have the awesome online presence these days. Because previously, and you may or may not be aware of this, how probably your parents or your older siblings found jobs was that a lot of them would go and load their CV onto a job portal. So I'm talking like a PNet or a Career Junction or a Careers 24 or something like that. Hey, Tiani, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you here. Thanks for the support. They would load their CV on there, and then the hope that recruiters would find them. Now, those days are gone. How we are finding good candidates these days, what we're actually doing is we are looking for people who stand out on social platforms. So I'm looking for someone who's got like a, excuse my friends, like a shit hot LinkedIn profile that's backed up by some good code on GitHub, and they are contributing to a platform like Stack Overflow. So these are all things that we are considering these days. It's not as simple as just putting your CV onto PNet. Also, I want to explain to you how you need to stand out from the rest of the pack, specifically on LinkedIn. And the reason why we talk about LinkedIn is because that's where the majority of recruiters are going to be looking for you. Okay, so LinkedIn is a good place to start, but we mustn't forget the tech sites too, of which there are several. Also, we're going to talk about your CV, because your CV is going to be the foot in the door to get you that interview one day. And then we're going to look at the most in-demand IT skills of 2020 according to HackerRank. And the reason why we're looking at 2020 is not because I haven't given you up-to-date information. It's because we are a step behind most of the developers who respond to the survey on HackerRank. So this is more in line with our needs. And also because the 2021 report has not been released yet. Okay. So let's start. Let's talk about your brand identity, because this is something that every single one of you can control. So your personal brand is what other people say about you when you leave the room. It's your professional reputation. And this is honestly something that you can start working on right away. So if there's people on this call and they haven't got a LinkedIn profile yet, they haven't got a profile on GitHub or Stack Overflow or dev.to, very new up and coming site, or if you're in the data science or the machine learning space, you need to get a profile on Kaggle, that's kaggle.com. You are in control of your brand identity. And this is what is eventually going to grow into your professional reputation. So people can tell when you join these platforms, when you started getting active, when you first started loading code. So in my opinion, it's kind of like the sooner the better when it comes to these things. If you do have any questions as I'm going along, you're welcome to pop them into the chat. Am I monitoring the chat? Yes, I am. Okay, cool. So just let me know. So what I want to talk about is where are you online and how do you behave? So those of you who are sitting on this chat, and I'm just going to be brutally honest with you, and you are thinking that no one's going to check me out on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, wherever you may be, yes, we are. Okay. Recruiters will be checking you out on those platforms, because as much of a part of placing you at a company is about getting the right skills in place and the skills match, a lot about what we're looking for is that you're going to fit the culture of the organization. Companies don't want to be hiring troublemakers. They don't want to be hiring people who are very opinionated. Can everybody else hear me? They don't want to be hearing people who are overly opinionated, who are going to come into a team, disrupt the demographics of the team, how people are working together, and basically just be a pain. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So we cannot turn around and just say, well, you can't judge me on my Twitter feed because that's my personal platform. You can't judge me on what I post on Instagram because that's my personal platform. Sure, you can take that opinion, but when you're not finding jobs because recruiters are overlooking you or companies are overlooking you, they're not going to take the time to tell you why. But I'm telling you now, this is why. Because they are finding something, and it's fine. You can lock down your privacy settings. That's cool. But then just remember, it's actually better to use the social media, to, in a positive light, make yourself look good, as opposed to shutting down your settings and trying to hide. So you're such a powerful tool that you can use to showcase how great you are. Don't just try and hide, or be careful about what you post, is what I'm saying, because these things don't disappear. Even if you delete a Facebook profile, you can actually still retrieve it. This is part of what I do as part of my white collar hacking work that I do on the talent sourcing side. So basically, I want you to have a look and give yourself a bit of an assessment of your social media platforms and your presence. So is there anything on your social media platforms that you wouldn't put on your billboard, on a billboard? So think about the busiest road into Pretoria or Johannesburg. Would you put everything on there? And it's a big ask. And more importantly, do you have anything on these social media platforms that your mother does not know about? Because that's the way that you need to think about it. Because companies are not just going to hire you because you've got a great smile, a good personality, and a good CV. They want to see people who on their LinkedIn are putting where they are volunteering. They want to see people who are getting involved, people who are spending their time like this. So for example, those of you who are on this call tonight, no one forced you to be here. Hopefully no one's held a gun to your head to come and listen to my pearls of wisdom. But also, this is something that you could be putting onto your CV, not maybe tonight, but what you could say is that you belonged to this geek culture society on the campus, and this was your role. Okay, you've emceed events before or something like that. Okay, it's important because it shows leadership and it shows that you want to make a difference. So everything that you do, you pretty much need to be mentioning or talking about or putting somewhere for someone to see. So let's talk about where you are online and do you stand out? Because let's face it, everybody who's on this call right now, they're probably your friends, but they're also going to be your competition when you graduate, right? So we need to remember this, and we need to make sure that we start working on our online brands before the other people in the chat or on the call do the same thing. So pretty much we need to think about what is our strategy. And this is an important thing, because your strategy should be because you want to stand out. And we're now living in a society where we share things, we collaborate. Knowledge isn't power. Knowledge isn't something that we're just going to keep to ourselves and not share with anybody else. Knowledge is something that's there to be shared. So here I am sharing my knowledge with you tonight of my own free will, not getting paid to do it, because that's what it's all about. It's about giving back. It's about sharing. But you can adopt the same attitude with your online presence. And that's what I'm saying, is use your social media platforms to stand out, to show that you care about others around you, you're interested in building a community, and you want to give back to others, because that's going to make you look better than the other people that you are competing against. So remember that when you are posting on these platforms, you should be doing things like linking your Twitter feed with your LinkedIn. because every time you post on LinkedIn, it can go out as a tweet. You can be doing the same on Instagram. You know what it's like. When you post there, you can choose where the information is shared to. So everything that you should be sharing and on there should go out with a graphic. So I'm talking about LinkedIn mainly here. My advice and what I aim to do is to try and share 3 times a week on a platform like LinkedIn. Also, to try and remember to post regularly. You know, you don't want to be the person who kind of goes through a stage and they're posting 3 times a day or something like that, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, because you confuse the LinkedIn algorithm. You shouldn't be posting more than twice in a 24-hour period. But you want to be active on there. You want to start getting people's attention. You want to start having an opinion. You want to start giving back to the community. Okay? And also, remember that people love listening to a story. So if you've got a story to tell, it could be about your experience of being a student in South Africa, your experience of learning a new coding language for the first time. Like, I'd love to hear insights like that myself, because it's been a very long time since I was a student here. And also, IT interests me. So you've got to find your sweet spot of what you want to be known for. And that is your strategy. So those of you who've already connected with me on LinkedIn, thank you. I'll probably only get to them tomorrow. But I want to stand out as the go-to talent sourcing person in Africa. And obviously, that is something that I've achieved to do, because Twitter contacted me to help them to staff up their new offices in Accra in Ghana. So I'm very glad, because my end goal worked out. And you've got to think about what is your end goal. So also, some other things is that when you are posting, don't just post a statement, because people can't interact with a statement. Like, I can't really say to you, yeah, it's been a super busy day today. Okay, you can't really interact with that. But if I say, yeah, it's been a super busy day today, ask me what I've done. Okay, question mark. So if you are posting online on your social platforms, always have a call to action. So ask a question. The more people that comment on a post on LinkedIn, the better the post performs. Because what it's doing is it's being pushed into people's news feeds. The same with like a GitHub, you know, don't open a GitHub account, load one repository of code and then forget about it. You know, go and fork some code from somebody else. Get involved in Stack Overflow. You can learn from other people. Try and answer a question if you can. It's pointless having a presence on these platforms, but not being active. Also, there's loads of groups out there. So, I mean, these groups could be on Facebook. They could be on LinkedIn. So you need to make sure that you are joining the right groups, again, so that you are learning, because I know you probably think that you're sick and tired of learning now, being a student. A lot of you probably just finished school, and now you're a student, and now you're studying again, etc., etc. But trust me, I'm 43. I still learn something new every single day. I sat in on the conference in the UK today because I wanted to learn from those people too. So that's one thing that we need to remember, is continuous learning, and we do that by finding like-minded people, and then we join groups with these like-minded people. Also, let's not be a negative Neil or a negative Nelly, please. No one likes to follow people who are negative online. Sure, you know, things can be tough in Africa. COVID's been an absolute bitch, and yeah, you know, I know that our government doesn't feel like they're looking after us and giving us vaccines, but you don't want to be the person who's going online and complaining about these things all the time. It is what it is. Know who you can complain to. But I do recommend that when you want to post, you make sure that you're in the right frame of mind and you post something that's positive.
Okay, hey Vanessa, I think maybe we can just answer a few questions that we had.
Sure. Are there lots coming in?
On the Google form.
Okay.
To what you're talking about.
Cool.
We had one of the questions asking how important is a personal portfolio, like maybe you could rank it, because I've heard you talk about how shy the IT community is.
Yes.
And how they not really.
So what a personal portfolio of what? So like, for example, if you're a graphic designer, please tell me that you've got a personal profile or portfolio on Behance, like a UI, UX designer, then that would be great. I mean, portfolio can be so many different things. I mean, if you're on GitHub, do you have a portfolio, some of your code or your resume on github.io? So yes, it is important to have one, absolutely, but it will differ depending on kind of what line of IT you're in.
Okay, thank you. I think that's great. And another question is, what exactly should you be posting on GitHub? Because you can say Git repositories with, I mean, your code and stuff, but a lot of what you might want to post might already be there.
Doesn't matter if it's already there, because remember that what happens is that when you post your code onto a site like GitHub, there are certain tools that people use to be able to decipher what code you are loading. So say, for example, I'm looking for Java developers. I'm going to go and find someone who on their GitHub has posted loads of code in Java. So it doesn't matter if it's already there. It's not a competition. I'm only interested in your profile. So load code, fork code from other people, do what you need to do, but just it's about looking good. Remember, a lot of people in the recruitment space, until you get to the hiring manager, are not technical. So they probably wouldn't be able to read your code anyway.
Yeah.
But as long as it's there.
I agree. Okay, I think those are the questions for now. You can continue.
Okay, cool. So if you have got any kind of events coming up, so I thought Son Wabelian, sorry to call you out here, my friend, was very brave. I don't know him from a bar of soap. He connected with me on LinkedIn and he asked if I wanted to present tonight. That was brave. That was a good move. I'm proud of him for doing that. And that's why I'm more than willing to help when people reach out and ask for help. But what have the rest of you done? No one connected with me before this event tonight to say, I'm looking forward to your presentation on Tuesday. I mean, it's a great opportunity to connect with speakers, isn't it? So if you want to be growing a big network and you want to be connecting with people, following people, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be on Twitter, it could be joining their groups on Facebook, it could even be getting into meetup groups. You need to start almost becoming a little bit braver online in order to make those connections. So also, you know, one of the professional goals that we should be setting is to the one about always be learning, especially you in the tech space, because as we know, the tech updates so quickly. So you need to keep up to date. So myself as recruiters or sources will be like, go and find this person, but they need to have the latest certification and this or that. So again, unfortunately, you're probably going to finish your studies, I don't know, this year, next year, whatever it may be, but that is not the end of your learning journey. Now you need to start specializing. Now you need to start looking at more certifications that you can be doing. Okay. Also, if you want to work at a company, so say, for example, you've always wanted to work at, let's use Twitter as an example. If you've got a good online presence and a good online brand, it's going to be a lot easier for you to connect with hiring managers or technical managers that you would like to work for. For example, look at Amazon down in Cape Town. They're taking a large portion of young developers that are fresh out of university and training them. Do you want to be one of those people? Well, how you can be one of those people is by standing out online on whichever platform, but make sure that you definitely have a good presence on what we refer to as the big four, which is your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter, and your Instagram. But also from a tech perspective, you need to start looking at your GitHubs, your Stacks, your Kaggles, those kind of things. And every certification that you earn needs to go on to Credly. And Credly used to be known as Your Acclaim. So you often see those posts coming up on LinkedIn or Twitter. But beforehand, what you could do is connect with the hiring managers and say, hey, I'm in my final year of studies. This is what I'm studying. I'd love to work with you one day. Please connect with me. What a pleasure. What a great introduction. Hiring managers carry a lot of clout and a lot of weight and can pretty much handpick their teams these days. So also is that you can and must use social media to your advantage too. It's an incredibly powerful tool. As I say, if I didn't have an online brand or an online presence, I wouldn't get contacted by all of these international companies to work with them. So if you want international exposure one day, you want to be able to like go and work in different places, then I suggest that we start getting busy on our profiles. So basically, how not to behave. This is what one guy put on LinkedIn. I found his profile and he says, to all recruiters, leave me alone. I just started a new job and no, I don't know anyone else who is interested. Okay. So pretty much most recruiters have seen this because I've actually added it into my training as well. But it's just common decency, isn't it? Be nice to other human beings, be kind. Recruiters are here to help you. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to help you find other jobs. We try to assist you. So we got to be careful about how we behave. Okay, so let's talk about LinkedIn in particular now. So before we move on to LinkedIn, are there any questions? You are more than welcome just to shout, unmute yourself if you've got a question. No, are we good? Okay, so pretty much, let's have a look at LinkedIn. And I gave you my LinkedIn address in the chat earlier. You are more than welcome to go and connect with me. The one thing that you need to have is a clear head and shoulders professional photo of yourself. And when I say professional, please don't go and spend a fortune going to a photographer. Everyone has a smartphone these days. All you need is good lighting. You need to be smiling, no pouting, no selfies, all of those kind of things. Okay. Sure, I can share my LinkedIn account again quickly for you. So just make sure that it looks professional and make sure that it looks like you. Another big thing is that you've got to remember that your name is important. So different people in different social groups have different names. So we need to remember, even if it's a cultural thing, what name are we going to go by, okay? And what name are we going to use going forward? Because you don't want someone looking for you under Vanessa Raath, but actually what your name is actually you go by Vanessa Smith because you changed it when you got married, or you've actually decided that you're going to call yourself your middle name. Okay, you want to be found. Also, underneath your name on LinkedIn, rather just write some interesting things about yourself. I mean, you don't have a job title at the moment, you're a student. So, I mean, you don't just want to put student there, student to Belgium campus. You could say budding Java developer or dynamic Python developer in the making. Like, make it interesting. You want to, that's what the space that you've pretty much got to grab people's attention. Okay, you're welcome to connect with me. Again, look at mine, look at some other good examples, and you've got something like 350 characters there. So you may as well use all of them. Also, you've got an about section or a summary. Remember, that should be your old cover letter. So those of you with CVs, please stop sending a cover letter with your CV. Unfortunately, recruiters are busy people. We don't read them. We don't have time. But what I want you to do is in the summary of the about section of your LinkedIn, tell me something personal about yourself. What do you enjoy doing? I mean, I personally look for people that tell me that they code on weekends because I know that those are people that are passionate about coding. I also don't mind about people, Tiana, I'll get to your question now. You know, they tell me that they're gamers because gaming is normally tightly coupled with being a developer. Tiana, you're welcome to put a picture on your CV, but it really isn't a necessity. Put it this way, if a recruiter gets your CV, they're going to go and look for you on social media anyway. And when they look on social media, they actually are going to find a picture of you regardless. So I wouldn't bother with a photo on your CV. Those days are gone. Also, no matter where you are in your career, ask for recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. Because even if you have 5 recommendations by the time you finish your studies, you're going to probably have 5 more than everybody else who's competing for the same role as you. Just hold on, I have to put this cat outside. It's driving me nuts. Okay, sorry about that. So even if you've got, as I say, 5 more than somebody else, it's 5 more. Okay, so people you could ask, people that you've maybe worked with on a part-time basis, lecturers, those kind of things would always be good people to tap into. Also, I want to see things like while you're a student. While people are students, I want to see people who've worked, because then I know people know how to manage their time. I don't care if it's waitering at Spur. I don't care if it's volunteering at the church fete or cleaning out kennels at the SPCA. I want to see those people because those are not people who lie around chilling and watching Netflix. So anything that you have done outside of work, from a work perspective, like if you are the chairman of this club of group of people that I'm talking to, I want to see that on your CV. Okay. So I want to see people who go the extra mile. And so put that on your CV and put it on your LinkedIn profile. And also you need to get active on the platform. So I know it's quite time consuming, but you definitely need to maybe start connecting with recruiters, because these are the people who are going to assist you to find work one day. Connect with each other, connect with hiring managers at companies, those kind of things. Okay, so let's talk about your CV now, because the CV is actually really important. The CV is more often than not the tool or the weapon that gets your foot through the door. So what I'm talking about here is that a lot of times you'll get the CV first via a network, and then you'll check out their online presence. For me, it's the other way around, because I'm more of a sourcer, a talent sourcer. So I'm going to go and look for what we deem as passive talent. So people who aren't on the market, I'm going to look at their online presence. So I want to find people who are running like the Josie Jug, the Josie Java developers kind of community. Those are the kind of people that I'm looking for. But your CV is really good. I'm going to give you a quick tool, actually, while we're on this. Those of you who don't know it, check out this website, canva.com. And what it will do, guys, go sign up, create a free account. You don't need to pay for it. You can go and design your CV on there. Okay, very, very cool designs. So also remember that you've got to, maybe not necessarily now because you don't have any working experience, but you've actually got to tailor your CV for the role that you're applying for. So I don't mean like kind of alter your job titles, like don't suddenly call yourself a Java developer if you're actually a C# developer or something like that. But if the experience is looking for someone who has experience using TypeScript, and you haven't mentioned on your CV that you use TypeScript, okay? Go and put it on your CV. Because then when the person's scanning through your CV, very often they're only looking for keywords, and they're going to see TypeScript, and that's going to be a bold move for you. So another question is, how do I get LinkedIn to get jobs sent to me instead of looking? You can do that. I get jobs sent to me and I'm totally not looking. So I think you would have to go into LinkedIn, and I think that there's a button that you push there. I don't know, because I don't know how I did it. I did mine ages ago. I'm more interested to go and interested to know who's hiring recruiters and growing teams and those kind of things. So I get the adverts for recruiter jobs. But I think that if you go and sign up on LinkedIn, you should get the alerts. Website CV, I love a website CV. Again, you get the free hosting on github.io. Use it. Okay, once you sign up. I think that that's brilliant. I'm not saying it's going to make the need that you're not going to have a Word document CV or a PDF. You're probably going to need both. Okay, but yeah, I love a website CV.
Sorry, Vanessa, I want to ask this quick. So is it important how the length of your CV, is it important?
Well, you tell me. How can we talk about the length of a CV when someone's worked for 20 years and someone's just graduated? I can't expect both of them to have a 5-page CV. So pretty much no, the length is not important at all. It depends where you are in your career journey. And obviously the more you've done, so if you've want to add in that you've been part of clubs, you know, any of your part-time work while you've been a student, it's going to be longer than someone who hasn't done any part-time work while they were a student. So it all depends on what you've done. It's such a difficult question to answer, and I get asked it a lot because there is no answer. It depends what you've got to share.
Okay, cool.
Okay, but at this stage as a student, 2 A4 pages should be more than enough. And I also want to see things on your CV and your resume. I want to see like achievements. So were you the top IT student? Did you win the top developer? Were you elected to be class captain? Were you elected to be chairman of Geek Culture? I want to see those things because, again, those are achievements. Also, make sure there's no errors on your CV. There's nothing worse than getting a CV and there's spelling or grammatical errors in it. Guys, Grammarly is your friend. Download it. If you haven't had your skills accredited, then don't worry about it as long as you are confident that you could code in them. So say, for example, you put Python on your CV, but you've only been coding in Python for 6 months. Then rate yourself as intermediate. So you could maybe put the link to where the courses that you've been learning Python with. Okay, honesty is the best policy. Don't try and fudge it, because when you get into the role and they expect you to start coding in Python like someone who's been doing it for 2 years, it's not going to be pretty. Okay. So guys, also use a cover letter, but put that in the body of the email. Okay. So don't send a cover letter with your CV. Put it in the email that is directed to the company or to the recruiter or something like that. Or put that information on your LinkedIn profile. Also, some more points. Guys, start strong is what I mean by having a look at the CVs that are on Canva. They give you templates. You just have to kind of make them look good, add in your own details. Or should I say they already look good, so you just have to add in your details. This will grab anyone's attention. They look professional, they're sleek, they're really good. So you have to get people to want to engage with you and look at your CV. And also on your CV, talk about the importance of results rather than the responsibilities in various roles. So even if you had a role where you were packing boxes at Pick n Pay, like were you responsible for the stock count at the end of the day? Okay, so was that your responsibility, or was the importance while you were packing the boxes at Pick n Pay that while you were on the shift, there was no losses that were recorded? So like it's a different way of looking at two sides of what you do as a job. So your responsibilities are more what appears in the role description, what is you going to have to do in the job. But what we want to hear about is that, what were the results? Like, did you manage to save the downtime while a search ran in the background by 2 hours every day? Because that for me is a hard, tangible result. I want to know what difference you made. Also, guys, you got to stay up to date with industry updates. You know, you got to stay up to date with your studies, read blogs, look at articles, etc., etc. The more knowledgeable you are in your chosen space or your chosen discipline, the better. And also be concise. So, you know, you don't want to answer a question by, you know, going around the houses and taking people on this whole journey and not getting to the point. Right, so I just want to go back here. So things that I want you to look out for is, if you don't have profiles on GitHub and Stack Overflow, I recommend them. Another one that I really recommend that I'm loving at the moment is dev.to. I suggest you go and put a profile on there too. As mentioned, if you're in the data science or the machine learning space, go and have a look at Kaggle. You'll also get good data sets there. Well, let me just spell that correctly, kaggle.com. Okay, you can also do free online assessments at hackerrank.com. You just have to go and load a profile and do the assessments. There are several ways these days where you can be noticed online. If you, on the creative side, have a look at Behance, have a look at Dribble, and yes, it is 3 Bs. Have a look at ArtStation, okay? Because if you can put any examples up there of any UI or UX work or web design that you've done, then we're going to try and find them too. Okay. So next of all, this is some information that I got, as mentioned, from the 2020 HackerRank Developer Skills Report. You can see here they asked 100,000 developers, and that's from a global perspective. So which is why a lot of this might not be relevant to us yet, but it's coming our way. You can also download the report for free yourself. So JavaScript is the year's most widely known language. So for the last 3 years, JavaScript is most widely known. So what does that mean? People are learning it, they know it because it's an in-demand skill. So if you're ever sitting at a crossroad and you're thinking, what am I going to learn next? What is the next coding language for me? Go and look at reports like this. Because we know things like JavaScript are always going to be in demand. And these are obviously all open source coding languages. Look at the other ones. So we've got Java there, we've got C, we've got Python, C++, C#. So these are the ones that you should be focusing on too. Also, to move away more from what people want to learn, Go, also short for Golang, has been the most popular for 3 years in a row. So there's obviously a demand for this skill. So Golang is connected with the Android iOS dev side of things. So people are learning it. So often what you'll find is people are learning coding languages that are in line with what the industry is looking for, because it's pointless. For example, the other day, someone phoned me looking for if I knew where to find Delphi developers. And I actually had to laugh. And I said, you're going to have to try retirement villages, because Delphi is such an old coding language now that no one uses it. The only people using it are big corporations with legacy systems that haven't upgraded their tech systems. So you've got to keep your skills relevant and cutting edge and know what the market is looking for. So also, we've got to look at frameworks. Okay, so popular ones that we're seeing a lot of: React, AngularJS, and Django. So 32% of developers say they want to learn React next. React is hugely in demand. So if any of you are looking for frameworks to tackle next, please look at React. So all three that are in the top 5 are what hiring managers are looking for. Okay, so remember these: React, AngularJS, and Django. And also what I thought was quite interesting is if you have a look at the salaries attached to developers. So those of you who are slogging away now learning how to code, trust me, you're going to reap the rewards in 5 to 10 years' time, because you're going to be in demand and you can command quite high salaries. But have a look over here, is that Perl, and I've never even had a request to find anyone with Perl, are the people who earn the highest salaries. So depending on the exchange rates, 54 US dollars, 54,000 US dollars was about just under $1 million per annum, followed by Scala and followed by Go. So looking at these stats, I can now understand why people are learning Go and Golang. So look out for these reports. They come out annually. Stack Overflow also has a report which they put out there, a developer survey. Go and read these so that you can keep relevant. Also, Backbone.js has got the highest pay when we're looking at frameworks, followed by Cocoa and followed by Ruby on Rails. To be honest with you, in the South African market, Ruby on Rails is the only one I've ever had a need to look for, but definitely something to bear in mind. Okay, what was found was super interesting is that South African developers are the 7th highest paid in the world. So what I actually hear when I'm recruiting for clients of mine in the Netherlands and in the US, they say, jeepers, your developers are so well paid over there in South Africa that we battle to match their salaries, which is super interesting. So first, the highest paid is in the US, because you have the big companies there. You've got the Google head offices, the Amazons, the Facebooks, Twitters, etc., etc. Second is Australia. And Australia is very difficult. They are battling to find tech talent at the moment. Followed by 3rd position is Canada. And 7th position in South Africa is looking around the mark of about 790 to 100,000 per annum. So yeah, South Africa is not that bad a place to stay and apply your tech talent. Okay, also what was interesting to see is that globally, 39% of developers feel that they were paid unfairly compared to their peers. So yeah, a lot of comparison going on from a salary perspective. But also what I want to direct you to is this has just come out. It's by OfferZen. I'm sure you've heard of OfferZen. If you wanted, just someone can pop that link for me in the chat. I'd really appreciate it. And pretty much OfferZen have put out 2 reports. One of them is the state of the software developer nation. And there's another one around more like stats around interesting what recruiters are looking for and in-demand skills. So I encourage you to go and have a look at, what if I can share them? I've got them on my desktop. No, I can't share files on here, unfortunately. You can have a look for them though, and you can go and find them yourself. Thank you for sharing that link. I saw it pop in quickly. Okay, cool. So we're nearly done. So just those of you, now you're coming to the end of your studies, it's getting to, the end of your final year, just some things to think about. You've got to understand how salaries work. I know a lot of you probably haven't been paid salaries or anything like that. So you've got to really make sure you understand your cost to company. So what's always a good idea, ask the company who's offered you the position for what's called a dummy payslip. And what a dummy payslip is it's pretty much a document which the finance team will pull, and it will show you exactly what your take-home number is going to be. Also, go through your internet footprint, because you don't want people to find stuff out there that you are not even aware of. So go through your Twitter, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and any sites that you are blogging on. Even just Google yourself. Go and see what people are going to find, because you can sort that out before anyone else finds anything untoward. Also, think about what you want. You know, a lot of people later in their careers will go into a corporate, will go into like a big bank, because there you're starting to get the benefits of your pension fund, medical aid payments, etc., etc. But also consulting is a lot more vibrant. It's a lot busier. You're going to have to learn a lot more tech. You're going to have to keep far more up to date with your tech. You're going to be a jack of all trades as opposed to a master of none. So just think about what kind of environment you're looking for. They both have pros and cons. And also network. So chat with people that you know in your network. Aunties, uncles, parents, cousins. Where do they work? Are they looking for people in the IT team? Who can you send your CV to? Because if your CV can get to the recruiters or HR through a direct recommendation, it's a lot better than just applying on LinkedIn. Okay. And those are my contact details. So if you want to get in touch or stay in touch, pop me an email. There's my website. You can find me on the socials at Van_Raath. And yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Let's have a look quickly at some questions. Please fire them in. Hey, Vanessa, when talking about consistency as a grad, what should I negotiate that the company covers? Well, as a grad, to be honest with you, Amanchla, you're not going to be in much of a position to negotiate too much, in all honesty. You know, it's pretty much a standard. A company is either going to pay everyone's 50% of their medical aid, or they're going to pay no one's. So it's not something where they're going to make a special concession, especially for someone who's a graduate. You know, you can't suddenly turn around and say, well, I don't want to contribute to the company pension fund because I'm young and I'm never going to need it. If it's an enforced pension fund, you're going to have to pay towards it. So it's generally not something that they're going to have a discussion with you about and make you do individually, but it's literally going to be a company policy that everyone does this or everyone does that. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second over there. So any other questions that you may have? Can we add online courses like Lumini? Oh, absolutely. I like to see those things. Recruiters like to see that. Guys, I've only had 5 new connections on LinkedIn, so please remember to do that. Yeah, Nahal, you must add your online courses, even if you didn't go write the certifying exam afterwards. A lot of people don't realize that sometimes there is an assessment at the end. But yeah, definitely add that. If you're doing any courses on LinkedIn, make sure you're adding those in too.
Okay, Vanessa, in the meanwhile, okay, there's a question.
Hold on, would a website apply as a form of a CV? It would do, but then also, pleasure, Nahal, they're probably going to ask you for a CV or portfolio too. So would a website apply as a form of a CV or portfolio? Yes, it would, but then they might, the recruiter or the hiring manager might want to say, just send this to me in Word format, because that will be easier to share and to interview off. I might be wrong, but just be prepared and have it in both formats. Okay. It's better to cover your bases just in case.
Okay, in the meanwhile, while people are still dropping their questions.
Yeah, guys, ask away.
We do have other questions from the Google form.
Okay.
There's one here from Latabo. It says, what else could I do besides the building a social media brand and maybe upskilling? What else could I do to differentiate myself from everyone else in the field?
Good question. Very good question. So with me, you've already mentioned building an online brand, which is fantastic. You can have a really good CV. That would also be great. But also another good way is to show that you've had leadership positions. So show that you've maybe run a community, you've given back, you've done volunteer work, you've worked through your studies, you know, something like that would also add a lot of value to your application. And then just remember, when it comes to the interview, a lot is going to hang on the interview. You know, how well were you received? You know, did you make eye contact with people when you met them? Was there a firm handshake? Did you come across well? How's your English communication skills? You know, it's a lot about having that confidence. And unfortunately, a lot of IT people are quite nervous. They're not always the most extrovert kind of people. So they don't interview well because they tend to mumble, they don't make eye contact, they look at their hands, they look at their feet, all of those kind of things. So you can stand out by being more confident when you go for the interview.
Okay, while we're there, could you maybe just give us like your top 5 tips on what we could do to improve for that interview?
For the interview, be prepared. So know where you're going. There's nothing worse. There's 2 things that you must never do. Never arrive too early. Always be at reception 20 minutes before your interview. Not before then, not after then. Okay, 20 minutes is all you need. When you meet people, firm handshake, make eye contact, smile. You know, you want to smile so that you look like, you know, something that's a bit mentally deranged, but it's good to smile. And also, you know, be prepared. Have you done your research on the company? What does the company stand for? What are the company's values? Why do you want to work there? Why would you choose them over someone else? And also ask questions. They're going to give you a time at the end when they're going to say, do you have any questions for us? Open up a book where you've written questions and say, yes, here's my 5 questions for you. Because it shows that you're interested and you've done your homework.
Okay, that's good. I think that's perfect. I
Cool.
saw somebody unmute. I do not know if they want to ask a question.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I don't think so. What are software companies looking for? What do software companies rather demand when taking on interns? That's another question we have.
Someone who's going to kind of work hard, and from an intern, remember that it's a very like low rank, but it's just, you know, you don't want to sound like you're nothing, like you don't want to be belittled, but they want people who are going to add value and people who are going to work hard. So people who are going to communicate well, people who are going to be hardworking, and people who aren't going to rock the boat. People don't want issues with interns. They don't want phone calls every 3rd day. No, we can't come into work because of this, or excuses. They don't want people who are going to get involved in politics and, you know, start a negative vibe in the company. Like, you seriously need to keep your nose clean, put your head down, and just do the best code that you can do. So I just got another question here from Duran. What would you say is the best side courses to learn? Coursera are very good. So is Udemy. Look, you're also going to get specific like Microsoft certifications that I know that you get, or in certain areas, but they do tend to cost a lot of money. They tend to be dollar-based. It doesn't matter which ones you do, as long as they are well-known companies that people will recognize, like a Udemy or Coursera, which is why I say that. And any side courses are better than none. I hope that answers your questions. You know, obviously you need to do your modules learned on campus, but yeah, anything that is like almost a household name, look at those. You know, even if you've done like a Google AdWords kind of course, everyone knows what Google is. So it's all about who the verification is going to come from.
That's great. We have one more question here. It says, we're often told that IT is the future.
It is.
IT is a broad field now, and how does the future look for?
It is a broad field, but isn't that cool? So you can specialize in the UI, UX, creative, graphic designer, Figma, WordPress kind of space. You could get into front-end dev, back-end dev, which will maybe grow into full-stack dev. Yeah, there's so many options. I think it's brilliant. I think you're definitely on the right career path. And I hope one day that you are going to be really successful in this. So stick with it. I know coding isn't easy. My husband, who's now 50, is actually just teaching himself how to code in Python. So yeah, you're never too late. I just want to look at Keegan's question. As a student entrepreneur, how do you strongly align your personal brand with your technology? You've got to be passionate about it, Keegan. So I'm passionate about helping people. I've given you guys an hour's free time of my evening when I could have been sitting with my family, because I'm passionate about the youth of South Africa and helping people succeed. And anything that you're passionate about, it will come through. Steve Jobs was passionate about Apple as a brand. He was passionate about RT. You know, it came through. It's not something that you need to consciously align your personal brand with technology. If you're passionate about technology, it's going to happen immediately. It will happen right away. The fact that you're here on a random Tuesday night when you also could be sitting with your families, some of you haven't had dinner yet, shows that you're passionate about what you do and you're passionate about your future. Cool. Amantle, thanks for sharing the Udemy course vouchers. I won't be doing one of them. I'm too busy.
Okay, I think that's all the questions from my side. I do not know if anybody else wants to ask any questions.
Guys, if you've connected with me on LinkedIn, just stay in touch. If you need anything, just give me a shout. I'm happy to help.
But other than that, thank you so much, Vanessa, for handing over your time. Thank you for just everything. Thank you, everybody who has showed up.
So Nwabile, I wasn't joking when I said earlier you were very brave when you reached out to me. I know a lot of other people wouldn't have done that, but thank you for your nice, polite and respectful messages. I appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity.
That's not a problem. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Skinny, for recording and hosting today's meeting. Thank you, Knox, for being our MC. I think that's it for today.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, guys. Let me know when I can help you again.
Will do.
Awesome. Cheers, man.